All week we've been telling you about how surfers are pushing the limits when it comes to surfing big waves. Today we focus on one person who has been also breaking other barriers. Keala Kennelly has been pushing the limits of women's surfing ever since she was a little girl. And it hasn't been easy. As if the waves weren't challenging enough, she's also had to fight against the men.
Yeah, when I first started kind of surfing bigger waves, surfing waves of consequence like Pipeline and Teahupoo and Tahiti, you know, kind of the attitude towards me was kind of hostile and unwelcoming and kind of really discouraging. I was kind of constantly told women couldn't ride big waves, and I kind of wanted to prove them wrong, you know? I kind of wanted to see for myself if that was true, and so I just kind of started doing it and pushing harder and harder and going bigger and bigger, and turns out women can ride big waves.
All this even after a very successful run as a world tour competitor, where she finished second best in the world. That kind of success does breed a certain amount of perseverance.
So it took a lot of years of, you know, just being out there, kind of like dealing with the aggression of the guys out there, getting dropped in on a lot before they finally realized, like, oh, okay, she's serious, like she's gonna go and, you know, she can actually ride these waves.
The waves she's talking about have life and death consequences. Tahiti, Pipeline, even Jaws.
Oh boy, Keala Kennelly, and she drops from the sky, getting caught up.
In fact, she won last year's Hagi Challenge in waves that got so big, the competition was canceled after a few heats. It was a big personal accomplishment, with an even bigger upshot for women surfing, although she took a severe beating in the process.
That was the first time that the women actually got equal prize money, and I feel like I earned every bit of that equal prize money, guy. I left some skin in the game on that one. That was not fun. The conditions were just gnarly. The wind just picked up like more and more as the day went on. The swell picked up more and more as the day went on. And by the end, I mean, it was really pretty dangerous. I think that's why they called the event off.
And even though she's one of the older veterans amongst the women competitors, she continues to push just as hard. But the struggle continues.
We don't have the same opportunities that the men have, so it's like, it's really hard to kind of reach their level when you don't have the support, you don't have the sponsor support. I work 2 jobs because I don't have enough sponsors to travel and chase the swells. So it's really hard to keep up with men that have endorsement deals, that have the sponsors, that have people flying them to all the swells, and, you know, don't have to work other jobs just in order to do their surfing job.
Still, she's very encouraging to those that look up to her.
And I think my advice to young women, or anybody really, is just don't let other people set limitations for you. A lot of times when people are telling you what you can't do, it's because either they can't do it themselves, or they're scared to do it themselves, or they just don't want you to actually do it. I would say don't let other people set your limitations. Go out and see what your limitations are for yourself. You have no idea what you're capable of until you actually go out and challenge yourself.
Yeah! Keala's Instagram is filled with comments from people telling her how much she inspires them. On a recent post, one person wrote, "Wow, I see grace, greatness, strength, passion, and love. Thank you for doing what you do and for sharing it." Another wrote, "My mom named my sister Keala after you."
Wow.
And right now, Keala is in Australia receiving her Women's World Championship Big Wave title for the year, for last season.
Yeah. So, you know, it was like when they're young, they got the Groms, right? And they go out there and they've got their awards, but then there's there used to be this big gap, right?
Right.
But now it's like women like this are really stepping up and setting the stage for
It was
everybody
tough for Keala growing up. There weren't enough girls on Kauai where she grew up to compete against. So she wanted to compete, so she had to compete against Andy and Bruce Irons.
Wow.
Right? You know, and she got her fair share of waves. She said she won a couple heats against those guys too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And speaking of just how tough she is, I mean, she's no stranger to injury as well.
Oh my gosh. we didn't want to share her injury from Tahiti on camera because it is just horrific.
Right.
But she survived that. She got a picture in the emergency room smiling with a huge gash on the side of her head.
She was fine sharing it.
Yeah, she was fine.
Guy shares the picture with us, and I don't think I'll ever be the same after seeing that gash on her face.
I know,
she's
guys over here like, hey,
she's
you guys check this out.
Yeah.
So tough.
Yeah. All right, thanks, guys.
Sure.
Very cool. All right, in case you missed any of them, we're going to post that whole series. It's going to be on HawaiiNewsNow.com, and it's definitely worth a rewatch.